The plane is an accomplishment of present-day designing, an image of humankind's progressing development, a door to any place on the planet, and judgment to shouting babies. A steady buzzing automaton and a megalopolis of microscopic organisms. Whichever you decide to accept more in. These best 10 frightening realities show exactly how skin-slithering the product of our modernization can be. Top 10 terrifying facts about airplanes. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell so you don't miss our next content. Number 10. There is no safest seat. Each plane accident is one of a kind, and the most secure seat is difficult to compute until the disaster area really happens. The most beneficial position will be reliant on this sort of mishap. It differs if the fly surrenders to a crash, rolls or land on water. Be that as it may, estimations have been made on the most secure spot to be. In 2012, a gathering of scientists utilized an uncrewed Boeing 747 packed with crash fakers and smashed it in an endeavored crisis arriving into the Mexican desert. The front of the plane was found to passage the most inadequately. The cockpit was disfigured, a few seats were flung many feet, and due to the sheer obliteration, live travelers would have likely been genuinely harmed or executed. These discoveries are bolstered by a 2015 investigation by Times Magazine of the Federal Aviation Administration's CARTG aircraft accident database. They found that the center seats close to the back of the plane had the most reduced casualty rates, at 28%. This is in contrast with a pace of 44% in the path situates in the plane. At last, one's lifetime possibility of being in a plane accident is 1 out of 1,800. In contrast with 1 out of 112 out of a vehicle, so these measurements may simply be gripping at straws. Number 9. The toilet is not the dirtiest place. That the location people go to relieve themselves is not the dirtiest place on a plane is surely an alarming statistic. That the area individuals go to calm themselves isn't the dirtiest spot on a plane is clearly a disturbing measurement. A recent report by TravelMate found that albeit flush handles had 265 microscopic organisms settlement framing units (CFU) per square inch. There were 2 other painful areas with considerably more pathogens. Seat backplate was the most joyful. Microbes colonize places on the airplane, with 2,155 CFU per square inch. That is an educational multiple time higher than flush handles. This is likely a result of cleaning constraints between flights. The staff has the chance to evacuate waste, however not to perform increasingly exhaustive cleansing. Disgustingly, an Auburn University study found that microbes right now for longer than some other, at 7 days. Overhead vents were likewise not exactly sterile, at 285 CAFU, while safety belt clasps and headrests found with E. coli present likewise raised warnings. With somewhere in the range of 150 and 350 individuals on board each flight, the potential for germ spreading is practically interminable, and terrible. Number 8. That plastic-wrapped blanket might not be new. Plane covers have a reputation that matches that of Al Capone. An inquiry by the Wall Street Journal's unit of insightful columnists found that most of these polyester walls are washed simply once every 5 to 30 days. On this, they are reused between washes for a huge number of individual travelers. One fortunate traveler will be lucky enough to get the cover on a mystical day that it is purged, yet each from there on will be exposed to expanding episodes of dreadfulness. Government law necessitates that these measly blankets are treated with a substance fire-resistant. However, this is the single prerequisite for the business. The vast majority see cellophane-wrapped covers as being spotless, yet lab testing of fixed covers has demonstrated yeast, shape and other microorganisms. Clothing representatives for one aircraft have likewise expressed that lone 20% of covers, ones with particular stains, are washed. What's more awful, a few carriers are charging their travelers for covers. Accept this counsel, and BYOB, bring your own blanket. Number 7. Pilots sometimes fall asleep at the controls. Weariness at work is one of the most productive issues that can torment a few representatives. However, a plane cockpit isn't actually the perfect spot to get some shut-eye. A review was led by the European Cockpit Association in 2012. It included 6,000 pilots being surveyed for a weakness indicator. 3 out of 5 pilots in Sweden and Norway confessed to committing errors in their profession because of exhaustion, and in Germany, this measurement was 4/5. Yet, there were all the more disturbing figures included. More than 40% of British pilots admitted to visiting slumbland at the controls of a traveller stream. Number 6. You may be flying with only one engine. Transoceanic flights have typically been flown by 3 or 4 engine wide-body airliners. Aviation reasoning dictates that there is strength in numbers, but these multi-engine jets are becoming extinct and are replaced by more fuel-efficient 2-engine aircraft. Modern engineering prevents engine failure from being a regular occurrence, but even if one were to fail, today's jets can take off, fly and land with just one engine. Even if dual failure occurred, a plane can glide perfectly without. As long as air is passing over its wings, the bird will remain in flight. And so a plane with no propulsion will change its altitude for this to continue. It can even remain in the air for between 20 and 30 minutes before reaching the ground. Many are aware of the controversial and arguably infamous Hudson River landing in New York in 2009, but although the prospect of flying with a single turbine or less is daunting, the fuzzy little microorganisms residing elsewhere in the plane are likely to be far more deadly. Number 5. Turbulence is getting worse. Umpteen airbound explorers know about the shocking situation: an abrupt open declaration, a goading run to affix safety belts and a topple of beverages to the floor. Air choppiness is as of now an aggravation, and it won't surrender at any point in the near future. Researchers currently accept that extraordinary choppiness is because of increment by a few hundred% in the packed airspace over North America, Europe and the North Pacific by the mid-century, when the measure of carbon dioxide in the air is anticipated to be twofold its pre-mechanical fixation. The current assessed financial expense of choppiness is $200 million every 365 days for United States carriers alone, and this is relied upon to soar close by the developing degree of mid-air strife. The incongruity of the scrape is hard to overlook, according to a paper distributed in the Environmental Science and Technology Diary. Number 4. The water is not so crystal clean. On the off chance that the previously mentioned confession on airplane microbes was not heartfelt enough, think about this: the substances that you ingest on a plane, to be specific water, may not be perfect. A 2019 airline water study examined the nature of faucet water in both major and local U.S. carriers, and the scientists were in for a frightening end. They discovered shifting degrees of E. coli and coliform, the two of which are available in excrement, in the airplane's Adams beer. This water is provided through fixtures in the cookroom and restrooms, the water used to wash one's hands and make hot refreshments, including espresso and tea. Out of nowhere, it's straightforward why many airline stewards purposefully don't partake in the delight of expending these brilliant refreshments. Number 3. Your food may have been cooked 3 days before you consume it on board. It's not actually shrouded in blade that dishes served on an airplane are flat, unappetizing and by and large the yuckiest thing was known to man. What isn't standard is finding 1,500 nourishment infringement over a time of 4 years, as was experienced by the FDA between 2008 to 2012. The association examined various separate nourishment arrangement offices, all of which supply carriers, finding the accompanying on various events: messy utensils, mice, cockroaches, ants, defecation, mildew-covered items, and unrefrigerated nourishment. Nourishment is being attacked on more than one front. Be that as it may, researchers have now indicated that because of sensation transference, plastic cutlery makes nourishment taste more terrible. Another assault on nourishment in the sky happens as dampness. French culinary expert Raymond Oliver is credited with concocting "wetter is better" according to plain nourishment, since saucy suppers definitely dry out to a lesser degree, and taste better. At long last, assumed, naturally arranged nourishment may have been cooked somewhere in the range of 12 and 72 hours before you devour it. Yummy. Number 2. You may only have 90 seconds to escape a burning plane. In spite of the fact that pathogens are to be sure nauseating, they are especially less inclined to murder you than on a fire plane. Not to spread express frenzy, however, the Federal Aviation Administration commits that a plane can be emptied in 1 moment and 30 seconds. The explanation: this is the time it takes for a fire to inundate and spread through an airplane lodge. To boost your odds, sitting inside 5 columns of an exit is the most vital choice. Something else that can be left to your creative mind. Number 1. Your oxygen mask will only last between 12 and 20 minutes. Truth is stranger than fiction. Those valuable breathing apparatuses, although not as esteemed as COVID-19 face covers, just get you somewhere in the range of 12 and 20 minutes of relaxing. Luckily, this is generally a critical enough term for your pilot to manage the plane to an elevation at which the strengthening oxygen isn't important. The claimed oxygen doesn't really begin this way, yet is rather put away as a mixed drink of synthetic concoctions and changed over to breathable gas. In the event that you set out to step onto a plane without wearing a hazardous material suit until the end of time, good karma, you daring soul. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and bye for now.